Greetings, SEOs. So today we're going to talk about entity maps. This is a proposed protocol from a group of people, but I know one of them is Grant Simmons from Wayk, which is like an AI visibility tracker tool. I just saw him speak at SMX Boston this week, and he pointed out entitymap.org, which I'm going to show you in a second. And during the conference, during his speech, I was playing around with it and I created an entity map for my agency. And what I'm going to do in this video is talk to you about what an entity map is, what it can help with, and I'm going to create one live in front of you as a tutorial so you can try this out yourself. So let me just kind of walk you through the path here. So like I said, SMX Boston, it was introduced to me and I played around with it a little bit. Then I got back and one of my colleagues shared this case study from Wayk. And it says, we installed an entity map on our site. Here's what happened. And to give you the short and dirty of it, they saw AI visibility improvements. They saw improvements in clarity and accuracy on how the brand was mentioned and talked about. It's pretty cool. And I wanted to create one. And here I am on entitymap.org. And it kind of walks you through everything that it can help with. First, the problems. Disambiguation. Definitely when AI encounters the same concept throughout multiple pieces of content, it can be confusing. And then the system outputs something that isn't quite accurate. Attribution. Sometimes your content can be part of an AI answer, but you are not identified as the publisher, or at least it's not super obvious. You're somewhere, but you're like tucked away so deeply people miss it. And then sometimes it has trouble making relationships. So if someone asks, if your brand does something in particular, or can they solve this problem, whatever, the AI cannot really clearly make those relationships and connections, then it can blow it on the answer. So that's kind of the problem. And that's what the entity map aims to solve. And what it basically is a couple of files. It's an HTML file that you can link on your site, and then it's a JSON file that you can reference from the HTML file, from your robots.txt file, and also in the head section of your website. There is a ton of information on this series of pages on entitymap.org. So I suggest that you go and read all this, but you'll see how I work with Claude Code to kind of get through all this and create one of these. But these are some of the predicates, some of the things that go into creating the files. And let's see, yes, here is a how to implement page. So this is great. There is a generator from Wayk, but actually you can do it for free and they encourage you to do it for free if you want. And I'm going to use Claude Code to assist me in doing that. I also want to point out that there's a validator, much like an XML sitemap validator you might be used to. Super helpful. When I created the entity map for my agency, I used this, found a bunch of errors, and then I basically just took a screenshot of it and gave it right back to Claude Code, and they were all fixed. And then you've got this visualizer, which is really, really neat, and we're going to test all of this together. Okay, so this is exactly what I did. I wanted Claude Code to have like all the right information. So I'll just show you the session. All I've got in here, by the way, looks like I've had all this conversation. This is just information about my website. And I just wanted to get that out of the way. This may not be the most scientific way to do things, but this is how I like to do it. I wanted Claude Code to see all of these pages. Okay, so what I'm going to tell Claude Code is, and by the way, I'm using Aqua Voice to talk to Claude Code. I know Claude Code has like its own voice thing, but Aqua Voice is sick. You can use it everywhere in your emails, to post on LinkedIn, and of course for AI chatting, so I use it. Hey Claude, we are going to create something called an entity map for my website. This is going to be an HTML file and a JSON file. Before we create this, I want to share with you a series of pages that will give you all the relevant information to help you accurately create an entity map for my website. So let's have a study session first. I'm going to give you the content of a web page. And what I want you to do after I give you that content is review it carefully and then ask me for the next bit of information. and I will let you know when we are finished with the study portion. Now, I'm going to give it, basically my path of discovery for entity maps. So I have a Chrome extension that I built with Claude Code that can basically grab the content of a web page quickly and copy it. But you can do this with URL to any. That's a great website that has a tool you can grab text with, or you can just do the good old-fashioned drag and copy. All right, so let's get going. Boom, here's the first one. Let's go to the next one. I definitely wanted to see this. Oops, so that one doesn't grab everything, and that's fine. I'm just gonna do Command A. Okay, that's great. Let's do this one. And there could be better ways to do this. You might prefer to just give it the URLs, and what I would do if I was gonna give it the URLs, I would tell it to deploy multiple agents, one agent per URL, study it carefully, and then report up to an orchestrator agent. You could totally do that, but I'm just being transparent with this tutorial. Sometimes I don't trust that Claude Code is actually crawling the page and seeing everything accurately. So this just ensures that it will. Okay, there we go. It's got the third page. Let's go to the predicates. Now this one's interesting because actually a lot of things are hidden behind dropdowns. So I went to URL to any tool I mentioned. This is URL to 8, and I'm going to copy that. And that way there's no expanding or anything like that. Just drop that in. Cool. How to implement. Now this is going to be a big one. Let me just make sure there's nothing tucked away. Yeah, we're looking pretty good. Let's do my hack Chrome extension here. And it looks like it grabbed everything. That's awesome. And let me go ahead and drop that in. Boom. And I think we're pretty much ready to go. So I am going to give it, I'm going to be a hypocrite here, and I'm going to give it my URL and let it crawl. So I'm going to drop that. And let me just tell Claude what's going on. Okay, Claude, we are done with the study portion. Now let's learn about me and my site as an entity so we can build this code. Here's the URL to my website. And I don't know, let's just start there and see how it does. I'll see, in the code if it's getting things right and if I need to go retrieve things. I know for my agency when I did this, it didn't include the Google Business Profile URLs for each of the 7 locations. So I went out and grabbed those just to make sure it was fully accurate. And it included those in the code as same as links, which you might be familiar with if you have written schema before. Entity map it's similar to schema in that it's JSON, but schema is more on a page by page basis. And the entity map is much more all encompassing. It's supposed to give the canonical information about an entity and everything else it relates to. So that's kind of the difference there, even though they do look similar. You can see how good Claude Code is at this. It's pulling the live site, but look at this second line in here. Now let me grab your portfolio and case studies and the blog to round out the topical territory and proof points. Claude does a really good job. In the official documentation on entitymap.org, let's look at what it actually says so I don't misquote this. It says, as your first step, list your entities. Start with the concepts, products, people, or places your site most authoritatively covers. Aim for 10 to 50 entities to begin. Don't try to be exhaustive. Prioritize depth over breadth. So you can see some of the things it says to list, and I probably should have done that on my own first. One of the best ways to work with AI like this is do the exercise on your own first. Have it kind of spill out of your own head first, then tap into your AI partner to fill in gaps and give you additional ideas. But just a demonstration, so let's see how it did. You and your site modeled as a knowledge graph. So cool. Brian Gorman, the person, Brian Gorman Consulting, the organization, looks good. 6 services. And now things Claude needs from me. Let's answer those questions, see if we can get to the step where it actually creates the code, and then we can validate, visualize, and then we can take those final steps. When you get a chance, let me know where the JSON file is. I want to grab that code and run it through the validator to make sure there's no errors. If you could just go ahead and open that in Sublime Text, that'd be even easier. While Claude's working, here's one big tip for agencies or consultants. One of the fields that should go on your entity map is called metric. So you've got entities and you've got services and concepts, and then you're going to have a metric. And definitely make sure that metric is something like ROI or profit. Obviously, that is something that potential customers are going to want to see in AI outputs. So if AI does reference your entity map file, that's kind of like the end goal that you want to be represented by. You don't want it to be something like increased traffic and rankings, or some leading indicator like that. Okay, so Claude has just opened the JSON file. Here's what it looks like. All right, you can see it's already getting some stuff right, which is good. And I'm just going to copy this whole thing, and we're going to go over to the validator, drop it in, click validate, and let's see what happens. Now, this thing has done a really good job, and that's because I gave it all the documentation in the first place. There's only warnings, there's no errors, so I'm cool with this. I'm gonna go on to the next step, and I am going to visualize. So select and delete the sample code and drop your own code in and click render. Okay, and it did some serious bouncing around, but pretty cool. Like, look at all these concepts it's got. And a lot of these come from my services and the blog, which is cool. Let's look at the services: AI integration, content strategy, consulting, training, social media, and website builds. That's all correct, looks good. And the metric though is organic traffic growth. So I definitely want to change that. So let me go back to Claude Code. Hey Claude, everything looks pretty good, but the metric is organic traffic growth. And that's a leading indicator. I want the metric to be ROI and or profit. I want my customers to know that the metric I ultimately care about is the bottom line. So let's drop that in and see if Claude can make the change. It's also got a couple of heads ups here for me. Both are okay. All right, and we're almost done. While it's updating my metric though, let me just kind of zoom in here and make sure everything looks good. So Brian Gorman Consulting, you can see it says offers, and everything in pink, which you can see the color coding here, is a service, okay? And this all looks pretty good. Let's just shrink that down a little bit. And you can see that the metric really stands out in orange, but we're gonna update that. And then I've got all my concepts, which are things that I have blogged about. And then green is going to be the person in the organization or the people, if you've got multiple. So that is cool. So everything's looking good. I'm happy with my last prompt. Let's just update the metric, get it live, and then we can check it out together to complete the tutorial. Okay, Claude said it's finished and it's going to push the changes to Netlify. So the excitement is killing me. Let's go to my site. Let's go ahead and refresh. Sometimes it takes a minute, but let's go to the footer and see. Check it out, entity map. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, really interesting. All right, so we get the entities here. Yeah, Brian Gorman person, affiliated with. It's got my LinkedIn, my X, and my YouTube as the same as. Super cool. Here's some evidence chunks, which is awesome. Brian Gorman Consulting as the organization, et cetera, et cetera. And everything is like E03, that's entity 3 is this service. Entity 4 is the content strategy service. Yeah, so this is super cool. It's looking good. It says it links to entitymap.json. Let's click that, see what it looks like. And it looks great. I don't even need to pretty print it. That's awesome. All right, let's go back here and look at the robots file. Okay, and look at that. Let me increase it. Entity map, structured knowledge graph for AI systems. So that's commented out. And then we've got the entity map link and it looks great. So that looks awesome. And then I guess the last thing is let's look in the code, well, I guess we could have this, but I'm just going to go to my home page to keep it simple. And let's look for entity map and look at that. There is the code snippet. All right, let me make that a little bit bigger for you. See it? Entity map. Type JSON, and then boom, there's the URL. So that's it. That is how you can create an entity map for your site. This is shown, at least in one case study, to improve AI outputs. The other thing it could really help with is in the next 1 or 2 years, when AI agents start crawling all over the place and looking for information, you know there's going to be issues. And this is just one extra step that could help with that. So if you want to be forward thinking, try this out. You know, we could become the subsequent case studies that show if this is, effective or not. And it is a proposed protocol. And it could be something that gets adopted in the future, and we could all be part of that. So give this a try. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel. I've got a ton more videos like this coming, and leave a comment below if you have any questions. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.